first MLB game, lifelong fan?
All I know is that Steve Carlson was pitching, and my dad has told me this for years. When I finally met Steve Carlson, I was about 21. I had hair down here. I was, the kind of cute little chickie or whatever. And my dad comes up behind me and says, you pitched the first game that she ever saw when she was 3 weeks old. And what went through my head was, you just made this man feel so old.
She has been an official scorer for various teams since the age of 15. Eventually developed and copyrighted her own scoring system after earning a PhD in cellular Meredith spent 2 decades doing NASA-funded research before turning her sights back to baseball, where her experience analyzing spatial data has proven ideal for working with the newly available ball and player tracking technology. In her spare time, Meredith is a knitting designer, has several pieces, including a pair of nationally award-winning socks in Cooperstown. Meredith, all yours.
That's another story. All right, first I should, as a preface, feel free to break in with questions. Except for here in the last slide, there are no words in this talk. There are no numbers. It's basically all pretty pictures and movies. Speaking of movies, they're all animated GIFs. I apologize. StatCast is not very forthcoming with actually giving movies that you can see except from their website. And it makes it kind of hard to insert them in the talk. So, despite the fact, like I said, that I'm talking about technology, this is not anything like the Scott's talk with graphs and things like that. So, the point, I guess, behind this is, like I said, I've been a baseball fan since day one. I tend to think of baseball as a 3-legged stool. It involves pitching, hitting, and fielding and defense. And I'm a total defense geek, I should point out. So what that means is that I have always bemoaned the lack of quantitative information, being a scorer, the lack of quantitative information on fielding. Errors are subjective. Educated, but as a scorer, I can tell you, they're my opinion. I like that. I don't think it tells you much. So the whole point of sabermetrics is that you're taking information that's quantitative. You're taking numbers, you're taking statistics, you're taking stuff that's on the back of the baseball cards, only now it's a little more advanced. And things tend to get broken down into single numbers because people like that. That's what we saw on the back of the baseball cards. The numbers have gotten more complicated over the years. So if you've heard of something like WAR, waves of replacement, don't get me started. It is very complicated, and depending on if you go to Fangraphs or Baseball Prospectus, their calculations of WAR are different. By the way, I'm not going to try to explain to you what any of these acronyms are, because personally, I didn't get half the calculations myself, and that's with the PhD in astrophysics. So, what I want to talk about is essentially the use of technology. And we've started, I guess technology really started to have an effect in the 70s, but it's progressed, and the cool thing is that the more tech we have, the better that quantitative information is. We have numbers as opposed to just people's opinions or insights or whatever. So, talk a bit about the info we've gotten, the info we're getting, and then how is that changing sabermetrics. By the way, if I use the term analytics, that's kind of the industry word for sabermetrics, so I apologize. So let's make this happen. All right, so I'm going to start talking about pitching. And 70s, and everybody knows that they still get used. Radar guns. I mean, people don't think about it because they're ubiquitous now, but yeah, that was the original sort of quantitative tech. By the way, if you want to ask at the end, I can go on a diatribe about why I think radar guns have effectively ruined pitching in baseball, but that's a whole other story. What you have there is a speed on the pitch. And when I say speed, I'm going to pull a little into my tech side here. All I mean is the straight line getting from here to there. You will hear people talk about velocity. Velocity, and again, I'm putting on the physics hat, actually involves direction as well. So this way, could be the same speed, but two different velocities, that's all. You'll hear me talk about speed. Oh God, Corey's going to tell me for not knowing this. In early to mid-2000s, we started getting PitchFX data. And this was basically everything we've seen has been Major League Parks. I think the minor league teams do now show it. But what you had was, you can see, and this is just one picture, his name is not coming to mind, 4 different pitches, hence the 4 different colors, and what you have are the break on the ball. Now there are also, obviously, speeds, I should say, associated with this because it's a single number. But, I think this is probably his fastball. Let's see, blue is probably the curve. I think he's got sliders, whatever. PitchFX was a great start, and it's fully available to the public as far as I know. This is, where people can say Fangraphs have done a lot of great stuff, but it is simplified. So what you're looking at isn't actually the track of the ball. You're looking at something that has been turned into a very pretty symmetric curve mathematically. And you'll also notice that all of the balls start at the same point and end at the same point. That's not me changing the scale on this. Literally, the idea of a pitcher's extension isn't recorded with PitchFX. I don't know where they call the number here. I don't know if it's real or if they just project. They could literally have just projected, track down over the plate. But I guess the point here is that you are getting quantitative information, but unlike the radar gun, which is one number, this is actually a shape. This is a picture. People have absolutely taken it and broken it down into single numbers. There is a break on here. You'll see like 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, and different pitchers will have different breaks. But depending on how you choose to look at the data, you have, it's a picture. It's 2 dimensions. And that's not even taking into account the fact that, no ball actually just curves down. Most of them, you've got something at an angle. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? You're not going to paint the corner if all you're doing is going straight over the plate and dropping. So even this is simplified. So PitchFX, which is sport pitching, in the last few years, there has been new technology that's been introduced, and I think this is how it works. PitchFX is still being used in Stadia to some extent. It would not surprise me if this TrackMan data is actually being brought in as well to substitute for it, but I guess I'm getting a slide ahead of myself. What I wanted to start with is TrackMan came in a few years ago, and the whole point was to follow the ball in the air. Remember this first guy, this is where the animated GIFs come in. I'll stop in a minute. By the way, this is a much more recent slide, hence, yes, he catches the ball, but we're not interested in that. We see the pitch driver. I just want to show this is how the ball is moving in the air. Okay, yay, I killed it. So with TrackMan, some of this is just cool graphics that the media likes. You can get, numbers from it in terms of, say, the velocity on the bat. You can actually get a point at which the ball lands, is caught. So this is, it's the laws of physics coming in. This is basically once the ball leaves bat, gravity takes over. So that's how you get it to work. One of the things you will see, you're going to see this over and over as I show different videos or images. There does tend to be a focus on spectacular events. That was for the SEL tweet catch, but you would see this during the home run because everyone wants to know how far the home run. So what we could do with this, and again, look, once again, we're sort of out of a single number thing. It's 2 dimensions, it's a picture. Is you can start to get hitting straight turns. I just don't want to shoot your damage, I'm not sure. I don't think you did my slide, so I apologize. But again, and this is my crowd, by the way, because when we talk about hitting all fields, you'll actually notice he is, in fact, hitting more center and left. The advantage of something like this is I'm sure everybody is familiar with the, Pirates starting it, but now pretty much everybody uses the shift. The reason they use the shift is because of things like this. Is because you now have 2 dimensions, you have actual quantitative information that says this is where the ball is likely to go when this particular hitter is up, and therefore you put the shift on. It's kind of remarkably hard on good pictures to show a shift. Show evidence of why you would need a shift. I don't know who remembers from the World Series, they kept putting David Wright on second base, or the second baseman would stand every time they did a shift. I can tell you as a scorer, it made me crazy because you would do an 0-5 with him standing on the right side of the field. Okay. Now this is one because of the way that it's shown that makes a lot of sense to the coaches, to the players. You can show them this, you can have the discussion with them, particularly with the hitting coaches, where they'll believe you. And this is why something like the Pirates, there's a great book that Travis Sodom wrote called The Big Data Baseball. And one of the things that comes up is them convincing the coaches that, oh yeah, statistically you're going to get more outs if you use the shift. Because look, this guy's hitting more to left field than right. And it works. Now the other thing that TrackMan is good for, and this is going to be, the shift was trendy, the new thing is going to be this. By the way, this is a slide I stole from Alan Nathan, who wrote The Physics of Baseball. I can run this a few times. We actually can record the spin of the ball in the air. That's real. And TrackMan can see that, which is pretty sweet. What? You like that one? All right, I can just keep playing it. I like the expression on it. Well, the great part is that the expression on their faces at the end is phenomenal. But that may actually be another ball. I have no idea. I should ask Alan. I apologize. The beauty with TrackMan pitching is that instead of that symmetric curve that, sorry, with TrackMan, instead of pitching like that, the curve isn't symmetric anymore. You're actually finding every single point as it's going, which is kind of cool. And so it does take kind of pretty, but it does not look like the ball's kind of doing this as it's coming down. That's not a breakdown. That is actually a break to the left and to the side. And again, lets go of the ball, as opposed to the pitch effects where they assume the ball always starts at the same point. Like that. So, you guys have probably seen this kind of thing on TV. And it says StatCast, and part of the reason it says StatCast, and I'll talk about that in a sec, is TrackMan is now being umbrellaed as part of StatCast. TrackMan is the ball tracking side of StatCast. But this is information that you would never have gotten with pitch FX. This idea of a pitcher's extension, which sort of by definition tells you how far he is out on the mound when he lets go of the ball, which also means velocity versus perceived velocity are two different things. Because a pitcher that has a greater extension is going to have a greater perceived velocity, or at least a bigger difference. So, again, 6.1 feet, he's got 0.2 miles an hour difference. 6.7 feet, he's got a half a mile an hour difference. That's on a slow race ball. There's also the spin rate, which comes at the bottom, and again, if anyone wants a better or more detail, but it kind of makes sense. The faster you spin the ball, basically, the more break you're going to get. And I would love to see numbers for, say, Mariano Rivera, who got through his entire career on a single pitch. I'm willing to bet you that his spin rates were out of, yes?
Old ice in this distance, what, so on the spin rate, 21 or 2146, what's it say after that?
The unit is rotations per minute, which honestly I think is such an insanely large number. I wish they used a different unit. But basically it is, the unit would be the number of rotations for a given amount of time.
The rotations per second would make sense based on...
I would much prefer that. But somehow along the line it became rotations per minute, and so we get numbers into the thousands. What?
Don't take a minute.
Whatever happened to
Well,
ERA?
no, but the problem is that the speed ball comes in. So if you're throwing fastball, rotation. All right. I shouldn't say this. This gives you one sort of information. What you're saying is entirely valid, but it describes a different type of information, which is actually quite useful if you think about it. Because how many times the ball is going to spin in terms of getting to the plate, yeah, the more times you can get it to spin, even if you're throwing the ball very fast, implies you're going to get more break. But it's, we can work it out. I can do the math afterwards. We just need to find a blackboard. It's just a matter of changing the units around. So this is cool. This is one of those instances, by the way, where I'm not objecting to the single number things because they're giving you multiple single numbers so that you can pull out some understanding. They're still not giving you the direction of the spin axis, so you don't know what direction the ball is breaking in. And for those of you who actually want to do the Fangraphs baseball prospectus thing with something like the TrackMan data, my bet is you're never going to see that spin axis. I apologize, but I can't imagine the teams are going to let it out. It's going to be proprietary. It's how it works. So, and I don't blame them. They need an advantage somehow. And if information comes into the public domain,